Awesome. And now I'd like to introduce the man you all came to see. BC Derbyshire himself is going to come up, talk a little bit about the writing of Mousehead and the meaning behind it.
Well, hiya.
Hello.
Everybody. Oh, it's nice to have everybody here. Well, the first thing is Mousehead. Why Mousehead, of all names? Well, Mousehead was originally a misreading. That's where it came from. I saw a notice somebody had stuck up on the lamppost, and it was advertising a band. I can't remember what the band was called, but I misread it as Mousehead. So I thought, wow, what a name, Mousehead. And that set me to thinking, who is Mousehead? What sort of a person would Mousehead be? And I thought, it's somebody who lives within himself, somebody very introverted, if you like. And the more I got to thinking about it, the more I realised that in a lot of ways that was the way that I used to be, a very inward-looking person. I didn't relate anything to what was outside of me. I internalised everything. So I thought, well, maybe this could be a book about me. But I didn't want to write about me. There's a couple of reasons. One is that I think it wouldn't be such a good book. And the other is that there's a lot of things I wouldn't want to be out in public in my life. So I thought, well, I'll make it a fiction, but I'll make it about me as well. So I was able to incorporate a lot of people I've known, under different names obviously, and some of the characters are mixes of a couple of people. Most of the events sort of happened in the book, but a lot of them are highly exaggerated. Because it's a book, it's a novel, it's not factual. It's a novel in the end. So it took me an awful long time to write it. I started it, I suppose, something in the region of perhaps 20, 25 years ago. And between then and now I've written several other books, but this was the first one I actually got published. And it's also the most important one to me because it's the closest to me. So I want to tell you a little bit about it. I've written it in 4 parts, if you like. There's 4 threads that go through it. The character's full name is Aubrey Mousehead, the most awkward name you could possibly imagine. The sort of name that you're either going to brazen it out or be embarrassed by. And he is embarrassed by his first name, Aubrey, but he's able to brazen out Mousehead. So as he grows up, he calls himself Mousehead. But he starts off as little Aubrey. So that's the first thread, is this little boy who's introverted, internalised, living in his imagination, an only child living in Cornwall, in a house that's full of books, mostly art books, but full of books. And his whole world is sitting looking at these books, seeing things that he doesn't understand, but that affect him. And his imagination is such that he can get lost completely in his imagination. The second part of Mousehead is him as a 20-year-old, and that's very, very much based on me. except I got him still living in Cornwall. And although I did live in Cornwall for a year or so back then, I wasn't brought up in Cornwall, so I was brought up in London. But by that time, he's a sort of long-haired, drop-out, ne'er-do-well, with a lot of ne'er-do-well friends who are his idea of fun. He's a complete rebel. He wants to drop out, he wants to have fun. He thinks he's looking for the meaning of life, but he's not. So there's him. He eventually goes to London. He meets a girl, falls in love. Various things happen to him in his life. And then there's the older Mousehead, who's my age, which is 54, no, 68. He's gone mad. He's finally disintegrated. He's alone. He's living in a room somewhere, or maybe a house, it doesn't say. He's sitting watching the television with the sound off, trying to hear, in some way, the voice of God. He wants answers to his life. The suggestion is that he's tried every way to find those answers and hasn't been able to. So he's seeking answers just through the images on a television screen. And the images on a television screen, as you know, are war, death, and advertisements for detergents. And that's what he's seeing. And it's not getting him anywhere. And he gets to the point where, almost automatically, he goes back. He gets on a train and goes back to Cornwall, looking for the answers to his life. And the fourth part of the book, at some point, Mousehead, who is a novelist, or writer at least, in the book, has written a book himself. And the book is called The Patient. And that's about somebody who wakes up in a hospital. The hospital's deserted. He is covered from head to toe in bandages. And he doesn't know who he is or what's wrong with him. Outside the hospital, there's a beach, the sea, very lethargically flopping onto the beach, and all these strange constructions of leather and zips and PVC on the beach. And the stories of what happens to this man, the patient. Now what I've done is I've mixed all these up. So in each chapter it'll go from one part to another, not necessarily in any particular order. But the idea of doing this is, rather than having a linear book where it starts off as him young, finishes where he's old, and there's your story, it's to take you, the reader, on a journey, on an emotional and spiritual journey. So that it's rather like listening to a piece of music. You won't, if you listen to a piece of music, you don't necessarily know exactly what the intent was of the writer of that piece of music, but you respond to it emotionally. And it takes you on a journey. A good piece of music will take you on a journey. And that's the idea of the book, that it will take you on a journey through somebody's psyche, through somebody's mind, who's disintegrating, searching for redemption, and who knows, maybe finding something. But it's also about the human condition, the fact that we're all searching. There are no glib answers to anything. Most of the time things happen to us that we don't even know why they're happening or what they're for. And that's what it's about. So it's a journey, and I hope that if you read it with an open mind, just feel it. Because it's written in a very poetic form, a lot of it. I've chosen every word extremely carefully to produce a specific reaction, because every word, as any writer will tell you, words are more than their dictionary definition. Every word carries weight. Every word that you write has got a whole history behind it of meaning. So it's much, much more than the dictionary definition. So if you choose your words carefully, you can produce a reaction, which is the idea. So there you go. It's taken me all these years to do, because I kept on fiddling around with it and playing with it and discarding bits and adding bits and trying to refine it and everything. And so now it's complete. It's there as it is. Whatever people think of it, I don't know. But I just hope that you'll read it. But I also hope that you will come back to me on Facebook, that you will write comments, that if you enjoy it, you'll go on to Amazon, where it's available, and write a review. You know, just popularise it, because I've written it for people to read. It's not there for nothing. I want people to read it. That's the whole point of it, is to share it with people. And I hope that, although this is a small gathering here, I hope that from here it will go out, that people will read it here and say, wow, this is really good, and recommend it to a friend. Because that's the way things work. It's word of mouth. So you recommend it to people, and let's make it work. Thank you very much. Thank you.